Reality is a memory. We see reality through the lens of the past. It's just the way it is. So the moment a person starts to change in a small collective community, they don't show up as the memory that people have of them, like something's different, something's out of phase. So then the question's like, what is it? What is it about you? And if the person's happier, then you suspect, oh, they are in love, or oh, they must have got a new job, or they're taking a new drug, a new medication, whatever it is, right? But they're genuinely just different or happy. So if that consciousness of that small collective is all about evolution, is all about love, is all about growth, you're going to say to that person, what happened? And that person's going to say, I changed. Like, well, how did you change? I just decided that I was holding on to this emotion, resentment, and I've just been working for the last 2 weeks, and I feel better. Like, I genuinely feel better now that I'm not addicted to that emotion of resentment. Now, the person is naturally going to say, what? Well, how did you do that? Well, okay, and then you get in the conversation about change, right? Now the person's inspired by someone in the flock who's breaking out and changing their consciousness, changing their awareness, changing their energy, changing their emotional state. And it's evident. They're the example. And mirror neurons switch on in the brain, and mirror neurons emulate behavior. So if that person is kind and present and considerate and caring, all of a sudden you're like, wow. And you're going to begin to think about that more and more, and mirror neurons will be like encouraging you to behave like that tribe, that person in the tribe. You get enough people doing that, and then, the collective changes naturally. And of course, it's not a linear process, but that's how people change. Now, on a macroscopic level, like the world, all the time that I've lived on this planet, I've never seen the world personally in the state that it currently is in. And there's a lot of separation. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of extremes. There's a lot of uncertainty. This is a crazy time. And so our curiosity is there's a collective consciousness in the world. And that collective consciousness is based on the information that the consciousness is being fed, because information causes you to become conscious of whatever you were unconscious to. And you can't have consciousness without energy. You can't have a thought without a frequency. So division that's taking place collectively is a lot of chaos and a lot of disorder. Okay, so if the energy is chaotic and entropic and disorderly, but there's an enormous amount of it, is there a way to change that energy collectively? And is it the number of people? Is it the amount of energy? Or is it the most coherent signature? And it doesn't have to be a large group. It could be a small collective group with coherent hearts and coherent brains. Could they begin to collectively begin to change the field? And that's what we're looking at. We're looking to see, like in an event that we do with 2,000 people as an example, we have random event generators that are placed all throughout the room, and they're sophisticated coin tosses. And the more you toss a coin, the more it's going to be 50-50. So these machines are tossing thousands of tosses per second. So, and they're random. It wouldn't be 0 1 0 1 0 1, or maybe 1 1 1 0 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 1 1 1 0 0, like that, back and forth. But overall, it's 50-50. And if there's nobody in the room, it's always 50-50. Get a collective network of observers together with brain and heart coherence and set an intention for whatever it is. It's just to say heal others. And all of a sudden, that machine goes 0 1 0 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. It just moves right outside of the norm, like outside. So this is a machine that's programmed to flip a coin randomly, and all of a sudden, the effects of a collective network of observers is causing a random event generator to become more orderly. There's an effect that's taking place. Okay, we see it over and over again. We take one of those random event generators and we wrap them in a Faraday cage, like copper and nickel. And heavy metals insulate electromagnetism, and they insulate frequency. You go to the dentist, he puts the lead apron on you. It's to block the radiation from the X-ray, right? So that's frequency. So build a Faraday cage around one of them and insulate them, and all the others are moving outside of normal, but the one that's insulated is behaving as if nobody's in the room. So now we're starting to wonder, is it an electromagnetic energy that actually is having this effect, right? So then how is that important? Well, okay, if you're in survival, you're not going to trust. If you're in survival, it's all about the self. If it's in survival, you're not at your best. You're going to act very primitive. Okay, so coherent heart, magnetic field, coherent brain, electromagnetic electric field. Now you got a Wi-Fi signal. What is the number of people that it would take to begin to produce changes that could be globally? So we did this event in September last year called Walk for the World, and we invited the entire world to walk to become the very change they want to see in the world. We estimated we had probably about plus 350,000 people from all over the world in 162 different countries gather together and do this walk. And we were partnering with the HeartMath Institute, and they have these gigantic sensors that measures the Earth electromagnetic field. Okay, so the hypothesis was, if we could change the Earth's field, will it have an effect on human behavior? Like, will it produce some type of change in the collective consciousness? So when we did that walk, we saw the same thing happen that happened in the room with a random event generator. The same exact pattern. All of a sudden, at 45 minutes into the walk, you see this dramatic shift in the field of the Earth. So I don't know what it takes, but I do know that an emergent consciousness that could form for humanity is going to have to be a collective consciousness. It's not one soul. It's a collective network. And so just like that flock of birds, just like that school of fish, you study that phenomenon in biology, and you think there's some leader that everybody's following, but it's not a top-down phenomenon, it's a bottom-up phenomenon. Everybody's leading. Everybody is behaving in the same way in synchrony. And when that happens, the appearance of a larger organism always takes place, and the tribe comes together. Pro-social networks switch on the brain. We move closer, we bond, we don't see any differences. We come together, we only see the divine in each other. And our appreciation for life, our appreciation for the moment is enhanced from the experience as well. I think love is the glue, right? You know that. It's what bonds us. It's the magnetic force that draws things together. It's a very limbic brain thing. And falling in love with yourself, falling in love with life, falling in love with the future, falling in love with the moment is why we're here, right? I mean, that's what makes life beautiful. So in the world right now, the world needs everybody to actually show up as the very change they want to see in the world. That means then you're going to have to do things that feel unnatural. That means when everybody else is angry and resentful, you're showing forgiveness. When everybody else is fearful and anxious, that's time to show courage. You know, when people are racing and rushing and competing to get to the top, that's when you stand still and draw the experience to you. And I think when you do that in the beginning, it feels unnatural, but that's how we become supernatural, right? That's how an emergent consciousness can actually form. Anger, hatred, hostility, violence, it's not the opposite of love, it's the separation from it. You know, we work with prisons, thousands and thousands of prisoners. And these are people that can't even close their eyes and meditate because their instinct tells them that something really horrible will happen to them because they've had a turbulent past. You see, prisoners come together, right, and move out of stress. The absence of the addiction to the stress hormones is called joy. The body is free. It's no longer out of balance. And people come back into the balance of their true self. They feel like themselves again. Like, God, I feel like myself again. I got my life back. And I just read a testimonial from one of the veterans. These are people that had some pretty turbulent pasts, and that were suicidal. And this guy said, I was ready to take my life. I was ready. I had the pills to end my own misery. And I feel completely different now. I've got my life back. I got my family back. I got everything's different, right? I'm different. I feel it. I can't stop crying. Like, so the war ended for him. It ended. Like, he's not an old soldier now. He's a new soldier. That person who tells the story of their mental health change, the person who tells the story of their change from their physical health condition, the person who tells the story that's gone from bankruptcy to abundance, the person who tells the story of how the synchronicity of them running into the person that would become the love of their life happened. When they stand on the stage and they tell the story to the collective, there's a change in consciousness because the person's becoming aware. There's truth standing right on the stage. There's an example of truth that's telling them that somehow this person has changed and their life and their health has changed or their future changed in some way. And that 4-minute mile then, the person that's speaking it is breaking through a certain level of consciousness or unconsciousness, and surely someone in the audience is going to relate with them. They're going to see, my goodness, if that person can do it, I can do it as well. And that's when it gets really fun, because that's when the person believes in themselves a little bit more, right? And their belief in possibility is enhanced, and they're able to make their change in a shorter amount amount of time. In other words, they're shortening the distance between the thought of what they want and the experience of having it when they do it properly, right? So get enough people together in an immersive experience, and someone has that change or that breakthrough. You start seeing like 5 people step out of a wheelchair in one event, 2 people blind, 2 people came to an event blind, seeing at the end of 7 days. It's unbelievable. So the evidence and testimony is that 4-minute mile, and people do the best with what they think is available. So if you don't know, or if you're not conscious of that possibility, you'll make the same choice. And so when people become conscious of it, now they can begin to make a different choice.